Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this video is a bit of a tricky one. I closed one of my Etsy shops. It was my Wedlock Papery Etsy shop. It was one that I made for digital wedding downloads of invitations and menu cards, place cards, seating charts and all that type of thing. I put so much time into this shop. It took at least 3 to 4 months of planning beforehand. I spent a lot of money on it, which I will go into later on, but I made the decision to close it down. I'm going to go into the reasons why. Hopefully you might find some of these reasons helpful if you're considering closing your Etsy shop or one of your Etsy shops yourself. Point number one was I was lacking passion for this shop. Now, I was aware that I wanted a passive income shop and I wanted something that would make me income even when I was busy working on my YouTube channel or my other Etsy shop, but the passion just wasn't there. I planned it and I thought I had passion, but I am not a bride anymore. I'm already married. The drive and the passion just was not there, and I have to admit that when I launched the shop, I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach that this wasn't for me, but I ignored it and I carried on purely because of the investments that I just made. Tip number two, or point number two, is I was in it for the money, and I'm definitely aware of this now. And I know a lot of you out there, you're saying, well, yeah, I want to make money from my Etsy shop, but are you just in it for the money, or are you in it because you are genuinely passionate about what you make? I always say to people, be prepared to work at least 6 months to a year without getting paid, because you need to have drive for your Etsy shop, because it is a learning curve. You are going to have to be learning things all the time, and it's just easier to just lower people's expectations straight off the bat. If you don't think you'd be able to put up with not making any sales for the first 6 months, or you're impatient, or you are aware that you are purely only just in it for the money, then opening up an Etsy shop probably isn't for you. Point number three is I didn't like the industry I was in. With the wedding digital download shop, I'm not a fan of the wedding industry as a whole. It's a very competitive industry. For me, a new Etsy shop to just literally open up a shop and make exactly the same things as probably what a lot of other shops out there were making was a pretty stupid move on my part. I should have been able to differentiate myself from the other shops out there straight off the bat. Also, piggybacking off of that is because my price point was low. Now, these were digital downloads. They range from £3 to £10 for an entire suite of a wedding invitation, RSVPs, all that kind of stuff. Because of my lower price point, the quality of my customer was lower, and I can do videos on this in the future, but because my price was lower, people expected a lot less, and they were a lot more cheeky when they messaged me and asked me to do other things or to add things, take away things, whatever. So just be aware that the lower your price point is, the more people will take the mickey. It was especially rife in the wedding industry because I was in an industry where there were stressed brides, and obviously with the lower quality of customer as a whole, it just didn't work. It was just a recipe for people to push the boat out and just essentially get on my nerves. And that was a big decision as to why I decided to close my shop, because I was used to a higher quality of customer. I was used to people not being as impatient, and although the digital download obviously is instant, people were always wanting me to make alterations, and it was ending up like I wanted a passive income shop, but it was ending up actually becoming a part-time job in itself. So that's a big reason again as to why I decided to close it down. Number 5 was my margins were too low. Now obviously the only thing I had to physically pay out for was the clip art and the fonts and things that I used, but When you're paying yourself a wage and it takes you over an hour to make just one item that you charge £5 for, yes, you can sell that item over and over again. But at the end of the day, the likelihood is that because of how saturated the wedding industry is, you have to only be prepared to sell that product 1 to 5 times. And I have to say that my margins were so low, especially when I was doing all the things that I recommend, so running a sale and all those types of things. My margins in the end were very, very low. And I know that piggybacks off of the don't be in it for the money type of thing, but you have to make sure that you're actually making money at what you're doing, unless you're just a hobbyist, in which case, great, carry on. But if you're a serious business, you have to make sure that you are actually making money. Point number 6 is that the amount of digital downloads that I had to make to compete with other shops out there was in the thousands. I'm not kidding. So for me to be able to make that amount, I either had to make low quality products or I had to invest probably about 18 months of my life literally making invite after invite after invite, place card after place card, literally just like a machine, just churning these bits and bobs out. And I didn't feel right about that. I believe that an Etsy shop should be a high quality curated collection of the products that you make, not just churned out because you need to. And also, I enjoyed the design aspect of things. I enjoyed planning out what sort of flowers I'd have on them, what the placement would be like. I didn't enjoy actually making them because it just involved me staring at a screen for, well, it ended up being 12 plus hours a day. I was just on Photoshop. I didn't use Canva, I used Photoshop, just making invitations and suites and things like that. And it just ended up, I just didn't enjoy it. I'm just going to say it bluntly, I didn't enjoy it. The way I enjoy my jewellery shop, that's a mouthful, is that I love making things specifically for a target customer. I love people messaging me wanting me to create custom orders. I love engraving. I love everything like that. But when it came to this, I just didn't enjoy it. I just found that it stressed me out, which is very, very strange, because obviously when you're just sat in front of a PC, you're not, or you shouldn't be, very, very stressed out. But I just found that the amount of files as well that I had to sort through to find the clip art that I needed to have and the elements that I bought, it ended up being so stressful trying to sort these out. My last point, point number 7, and take it as a warning sign if you like, because I know I'm very self-aware. I know what I'm like. I know I get an idea in my head and I run with it. And when I say I run with it, I mean I want to go out and buy all of the fancy equipment first, because in that moment I'm so passionate about it that I want to go and spend and invest all of the money. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but for me it's a warning sign. I know that when I get an idea in my head, I can literally, I've had 3 or 4 Etsy shops. That's a whole other story for a whole other video. But I know that another Etsy shop that I've had, I thought of an idea, I thought of the product, I made the product, I made an actual standalone website, and I made a blog within the space of 36 hours. If that can give you any idea of how much drive I have at the beginning of these types of ideas, then yeah, that's what I'm like. So a warning sign for me, which I now know, is that if I feel as if I have to go out and spend money on all the fancy things first before I even start the shop, then I know myself that that is a sign that this is just a wave of passion. And when I get to the other side of that wave, I probably won't be as driven about my Etsy shop. Maybe you have the same thing as well. Comment below if you think that you do. Do you get drive and a passion for something so much in the first, let's say, 2 weeks, 14 days, you're so driven and you're so passionate, and with that comes the need, or you feel like the need, to spend money on all the fancy gear that you think you might need. With the Wedlock Papery shop, I spent a lot of money on clip art. I paid people to hand make clip art for me. I spent so much time and effort. I even invested in a course of how to sell digital products online. Overall, I spent and wasted about £500 of my hard-earned cash that now is just gone down the drain, and that's fine. It's a learning curve. Now I know that when I get that drive for something, if I immediately want to go and spend all the money, it's a no, do not do it. Use what you have first and see if you like it and see if it's successful. I'm not saying this to try and discourage you guys from pursuing your dream. If it's something that's been in your head for a good few months and you just want to give it a good go, then please give it a go, because you will not know unless you give it a go. I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad that I opened up a shop. I put the money, I put the effort into it, because if I didn't, I'd still be sat there wondering, will it work? Will I make money at it? What, you know? And I won't be making this video, because this video is purely inspired by everything that I learned or that I did wrong with this shop. Comment below if you agree with anything that I said. Like this video, share it if you want to, and subscribe if you haven't already for more Etsy videos. I love you guys, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.